Before we start the meeting, everybody please go on to your emails and take the doodle poll that I sent out an hour ago so that I get everybody's availability for that. Sophia, I'll take care of the April meeting via email for everybody, so we won't bring it up in the work plan. It's not agendized. Joy, whenever you're ready, you can take it away. We're a little behind.
All right, this is Chair Rupert, and I'm calling the meeting to order on March 1st at 4:30 p.m. And we're going to move on to our roll call.
Okay, when I call your name, please say present. Chair Rupert,
Present.
Vice Chair Gonzalez,
Present.
Commissioner Carter-Ballou,
Present.
Commissioner Collin-Ballou,
Present.
Commissioner Leszczynski,
Present.
Commissioner Rohatki, Commissioner Junis, Commissioner Sue,
Present.
and Commissioner V. Meister.
Present.
All right, let the record show all commissioners are present except Commissioner Rohatki and Commissioner Junis.
We'll be moving on to agenda item 3, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair Gonzalez, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Moving on to agenda item 4, special presentations and proclamations. There are hearing none. We will move on to agenda item 5, oral communications or possible direction to the staff.
Okay, we have one speaker, Kelly McCormick. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, I'm Kelly McCormick from San Diego Alliance for Drug-Free Youth, and I would just like to let all of you know that we are accepting applications for the spring session of Study Buddies. So, and I know, Joy, you've done it in the past, and maybe some of the others of you as well. So if you or anyone you know is interested in being a big buddy to an elementary school student, I have applications here, and you can let your friends and other people know. It starts April 10th, yes. And we meet once a week for 6 to 7 weeks, 1 day a week for 1 hour, and you have the same little buddy that you work with each time, and then you're together as a group for like playground time or playing board games, things like that. It's really fun, and the younger kids really love you guys and look up to you, and you get community service credit as well. So if you're interested in Study Buddies, I can maybe pass this down the line, and you can share one of these, and they're also on our website and in the school guidance offices.
Thank you. This is Chair Rupert. It's super fun to do Study Buddies. So if you're an underclassman, I highly suggest it. It was super fun to watch my buddies grow. We are now moving on to agenda item 6. Do we have any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the posted agenda.
All right, moving on to agenda item 7, the approval of the February 1st, 2023 Youth Commission regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Vice Chair Gonzalez motions.
Do I have a second?
Commissioner Leszczynski seconds.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take a vote. Going down the line, Chair Rupert,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gonzalez,
Aye.
Commissioner Carter-Ballou,
Aye.
Commissioner Collin-Ballou,
Aye.
Commissioner Leszczynski,
Aye.
Commissioner Sue,
Aye.
and Commissioner V. Meister.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved.
Moving on to agenda item 8A, Youth Commission Work Plan. Recommended action is to discuss the work plan and report on work plan related activities. So, do we have any updates from Civic Engagement Series?
Commissioner V. Meister, I have sent out an email to figure out dates with the Marine Safety Tour, so if you have not responded to that, then please do. And I'm also waiting to hear back from our San Diego County Sheriff Department.
Thank you, Commissioner V. Meister. So other commissioners, make sure to check your email. It should be, when you're responding to it, only respond to Commissioner V. Meister to make sure we're in accordance to the Brown Act. Moving on, do we have any updates from intergenerational planning? Programming?
Quick interjection. This is Supervisor Anderson. When you all are getting availability from each other, the best way to do that to stay with the Brown Act is BCC everybody. So then the only way that they can respond is to that one person, just in case anybody was unaware of that. Moving on to intergenerational programming.
Yeah, for intergenerational programming, we just finished up the flyer, and as of right now, we're recruiting some youth to help volunteer for the event. So if any of the other commissioners are interested, then just come to talk to me. or anyone else in the group. So yeah.
All right, thank you for that update. Yeah, we could use some help for that. You don't need to know too much about tech, but I'd say enough to like maybe help someone write an email or figure out how to get access to their email. But moving on to our next plan, do we have any updates from Habitat Stewardship?
Yeah, this is Supervisor Anderson. I can step in on this one. We do have a doodle poll out to everybody for availability, so if you haven't filled that out yet, please do so before we leave here today. And please also go and respond to Commissioner Viemeister's email about the availability for the marine safety tour as well. Go ahead and take care of those things today before we leave after the meeting. Once we get that doodle poll in, we will reschedule our dates for our work groups with the San Diego Botanic Gardens. We've been rained out a couple times now, unfortunately, but we will get out there. We've got plenty of Saturdays left before the end of your term, so we'll get out there and pick some invasive species at some point.
All right, we had finished up our youth voter registration event in the beginning of our youth commission, so that's great. And moving on to identifying guest speakers for future meetings. Any updates?
This is Vice Chair Gonzalez. I do have a speaker lined up for either the April or May meeting, depending on when the April meeting is. So yeah, I'll keep updating on that.
Moving on to our next action item, e-bike safety. Any updates, or we can move on? No updates.
We have no updates on e-bike safety.
Nice. Okay, moving on to our next one. Do we have any updates from youth mental health?
Okay, so I've been in contact with Luis Canseco, which is the person that Parker suggested, and he's wait, give me 1 second. He's a specialist for mental health regarding unhealthy or abusive relationships, so I think that would be really helpful. That's his specialty, and he's lined up to speak at the April meeting. He's not confirmed yet, but I'll get that done.
Commissioner Viemeister, we also have a presentation today.
All right, so we had our holiday contest already that passed in December, and we thank you for the participation. And moving on to the mission statement, we also solidified that, I believe, last meeting as well, and that is set in stone. Hooray!
And this is Supervisor Anderson. I'm going to just jump in. Commissioner Gonzalez, do you mind asking your speaker to come in May, since we will probably have Luis lined up for April then? That way we'll have speakers for the next two meetings, so that'll be great. Thank you.
Right, going back to the agenda. Ooh, okay. Moving on to informational items, department updates from our recreation manager.
Thank you very much. This is Manager Goodsell. We have Art Night coming up this Saturday, March 4th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. And of course, the Tech Help Day for Seniors is slated for March 11th from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Encinitas Community and Senior Center. The recreation guide for spring and summer camps is now available online and will be mailed out on Friday to Encinitas residents. Registration opens on Monday, March 6th at 8 a.m. The Cultural Arts Center, located in downtown Encinitas between 3rd and 4th Street, has a target completion date of May 2024 and tentatively opening in the summer of 2024. The Senior Nutrition Program is seeking a kitchen assistant to help with picking up meals, plating and serving meals, and light cleanup. The position is part-time Monday through Friday from 8:30 to 2, and the pay is up to $19 an hour. We're also seeking Seaside Day Camp counselors. This is a part-time seasonal position working with youth and also pays up to $19 an hour. If you know of anyone that might be interested, please refer them to the city website to apply. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now be moving on to agenda item 10, Commissioner Member Initiated Agenda Items. 10A, which will be our Youth Mental Health Awareness presentation by Commissioner Mace Viemeister.
Yeah, you can either present from your spot, or you could go to the podium in the front. Whatever you think is going to be best. Obviously, the presentation is going to be up here. You can also see it on the little screen here if you want to speak to the rest of the commission, or if you'd like to speak out to our guests in the audience. Either way, whichever one works. We don't have a mobile microphone, so you kind of stationary.
I will do so. Okay, can you guys hear me okay then? Okay. This is Commissioner Viemeister speaking, and I've researched a presentation regarding youth mental health awareness. So we're just going to talk a little bit about recent youth mental health patterns, where we are today, kind of resources that we have to support each other, and how to recognize the signs when someone really needs help. So yeah, next slide. These are just kind of the main topics that we're gonna go over. Just, I guess, my background, I guess you could say, is I'm a PAL, which stands for Peer Assistant Listener at San Diego High School Academy. And it's a peer counseling program. We're available all periods, during lunch and homeroom as well, for any drop-in students that just need somebody to talk to, as well as we also see people regularly, and everything between myself and the peer stays completely confidential unless, of course, an adult needs to get involved. But it's a really, really great program our school has had. We've had it for about 20 years now. At this point, it's spread to a lot of other schools, which is all run by our counselor. And it has been very, very great and has helped so many people who don't know where to go. So I just think it's really important. I've learned a lot. So let's just cover the basics by talking about mental health. We hear that term a lot. It's become, I'd say, more and more popular as, around this time, but we don't really talk a lot about what it really is. And the definition is an overall wellness when thinking, feeling, and behaving. So it can hit either all of those factors or just some when it comes to mental health. It's very fluid. It changes. It just differs from person to person. It can look like a lot of different things. And regardless, sometimes people are having, they have, ups and downs when it comes to their mental health, and that's completely normal. People will experience symptoms all the time, but there is a point when it's time for somebody to get help. Sorry, are you guys getting feedback from the mic, or is that just?
Yeah, let me try to fix it a little bit.
You can also try backing away from it a little bit more, maybe. That might help.
Okay. I think then
Try now.
That seems better. Does it? Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. So it's typically normal to be experiencing some negative symptoms in general. Maybe you are having a rough time in your life at the moment, but it's normal until symptoms negatively affect your daily life. And that's kind of the rule of thumb with these kinds of things. So once mental health is starting to, affect and take over your daily life is when it's time to reach out. And it comes on a scale, because there's mild, moderate to severe, and it really ranges. Once again, looks different for every person. There are several hundred types of mental disorders and mental illnesses, and diagnoses depends on nature, duration, and symptoms. A lot of times, a mental disorder will be something that you'll have for the rest of your life, but it can also go in and out throughout your life. So once again, it's very important to seek out professional help when you need it. Just to talk about common youth mental health issues, these are the kinds of things that we're often trained at, are familiar with, and it's the kinds of things that we're going to be most common with, especially as youth. And a lot of these have become a lot more prominent since COVID, because that was a lot of time isolated and alone, and especially during a time where teens were going through such an important period of their life where they grow and they learn so much about themselves. It can also be an opportunity to kind of that isolation can get to you, and then you can go through these mental health struggles. So a really big one would be anxiety. I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, which is persistent dread or anxiety, depression, and that's going to be a depressed mood, loss of interest. We'll talk a little bit more about symptoms. ADHD, ADD, which is like attention deficit disorders, and that can be seen with a lack of attentivity, impulse issues, overly active behavior. That's also really common and affects school a lot. OCD, which is going to be uncontrollable recurring thoughts and or behaviors, and as well as eating disorders, and that's going to be any abnormal eating behaviors, negative physical and or mental effects. And there's obviously lots more. Some other ones that are common are PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder, and basically there are a lot, but these are some basic and very common ones that we are most familiar with. Now talking a little bit about statistics. So suicide is the second leading cause of death for anyone aged 10 to 34, which is really, really high, and those numbers can go down. 1/6 of youth experience a mental health disorder of some kind. 30% of youth experience an anxiety disorder of some sort. 11.5% of youth experience major depression, so that's going to be on the severe side. 1 in 3, once again, struggled with mental health over COVID. This is a lot of mental health got a lot worse during that period, and we're kind of in a healing moment. Also, there are significantly higher rates of suicide attempts with LGBTQIA+ members, and also racial inequalities and inequities affect well-being as well as the treatment process. Some groups are going to struggle more with mental health than others, and it's really important to make sure that we're aware of that and are supporting them. So warning signs. That's a really, really big one, and it's hard to tell sometimes when someone needs professional help, because when people open up to you and they tell you these things, you don't always know what to do with that information and what it really means. So that's why you have to really be able to recognize it. So some of these signs is going to be an inability to cope with daily life. Once again, severe mental health issues will interfere with daily life, so check to make sure that they're able to handle their daily tasks. Also, visibly giving up. This could just look like suddenly a very, very messy room, giving away prized possessions or important possessions, stopping doing work that they've always been doing, loss of interest in their favorite activities, this kind of thing. Withdrawal and isolation, whether it be from friend groups, from partners, if they're just all of a sudden, it's normal to be more introverted and to need time alone, but when it's all of a sudden and they used to be very extroverted, that's something to pay attention to. Once again, this kind of goes along with unusual personality changes, excessive anxiety and sadness that wasn't always there, also substance misuse. If it seems like somebody is using a substance a lot, and it's very, very out of character, that's something to be, concerned about. Also, suicidal comments, threat of harming oneself. This really includes jokes, because jokes are really, really common, especially on the internet. But it's important to know that if someone's joking about it, first of all, it's not funny. And second of all, it could be, humor is often a way to cope, so it can be a sign that someone does actually need more help. So it is something to pay attention to, as well as excessive anger, hostility, and violence. So really the biggest thing is just big behavioral changes that just don't fit the person's, the character. So just make sure that you're looking out for each other and making sure that your friends are okay. So when you do get these information and you realize that somebody is a threat to themselves or others, and you've kind of assessed that, it's really, really important to act immediately. A lot of times you'll be worried, maybe you're somewhere that you're not supposed to be, and it's way more important to, or you don't want to break that person's trust. It's more important to make sure that they will be safe, because it's just, a person is more important than anything else. So who to call? If it's an emergency mental health crisis and in that moment you are worried for their life, it's important to call someone immediately. 988 is a mental health crisis line. You can always call 911 too, but 988 is specifically for mental health. We have a North County MCRT, which is a mobile crisis response team, and I have the number up here. And they deal specifically with substance crises as well as mental health crises. And it is a mobile group of professionals that are, focused just on mental health or substance abuse and that kind of thing. And they know exactly how to respond to things. If it's also, you can always go to a trusted adult with these kinds of things. Once again, I'm, as someone who is a kid talking to you guys who are also kids, it is a lot of pressure to put on somebody to deal with these situations. So you will need help as well. And that's why it's important to reach out to trusted adults, whether that be your parents, a counselor, a coach, teacher, any adult that you trust. It's really important to reach out to, of course, to support the person you're worried about and to support yourself, especially if you yourself are going through something. Of course, there's also professional help for that are emergency options. We have walk-in psychiatric urgent cares or hospital emergency rooms that you can always drive yourself to or take somebody else to. And the biggest thing to what to do in the moment is to support that person. Just remain calm, listen, offer help and options. Sometimes when you're really, really stressed, it only makes them more stressed. So you have to try your best to remain calm and give them space if they need it. Just respect their boundaries, but make sure that they're safe and support them through what they're going through. Accessible resources. This is really important because, we need to know where we can go to get help. I'm going to talk a little bit about either these are resources that you could give to someone that is struggling or if you yourself are struggling. So within our SDUHSD school district, I talked a little bit about the PALS program. I know it's at other schools as well, and it's a lot easier sometimes to just talk to someone else your age rather than going to an adult. We have NAMI clubs as well, and they work a lot on improving mental health on campuses. School counselors. We also have, each school has a school social worker and a school psychologist as well as counselors, and they are trained professionals, obviously. There's also, you can always go to therapists and psychologists. There's also a lot of online options now, and that got a lot better through COVID. That was one good thing that came out of it, such as telehealth, BetterHelp, those kinds of things. There's also support groups and inpatient psychiatric care as well. And a big problem is going to be cost as well. There are luckily a lot of online services that are either they're free and they offer support, or they have sliding scale therapy, which is basically you pay as much as you can and are able to. There's also local community centers, and they have a lot of mental health resources, as well as other mental health agencies. Hotlines, I have hyperlinked onto this slide. These are 24/7 texting and calling hotlines, and the really great thing about them is they can cover so many different kinds of problems. So whether it be different mental health issues, or it has to do with substance abuse or abuse at home, then there are many different people that you can call and text to. There's always somebody out there that will listen. And these are just we're excited. So I just wanted to, ask if any of you guys had any questions for me, first of all, or if there's anything that you wanted to add to the subject, maybe experiences that you've had, what you've seen, any of that kind of thing. So I'll leave it open.
This is Vice Chair Gonzalez. I was just wondering for you personally, like your experiences of being a PAL, like how has that been like towards your mental health? Like has that affected you at all?
You know, I think I became a PAL because I had gone through my own mental health journey. And I really, really learned how important it is to, to get help and to ask for help because it's hard to do. And then I have gotten also so many tools that have helped me. And I knew that there were so many other people that were struggling with the same things I were that don't have anyone to talk to, don't have any resources. And that's why I became a PAL. And I think, honestly, I wouldn't say that it has negatively affected my mental health at all. I think it's honestly has helped because there are just so many people, like when you go to school, you have no idea what anyone else is going through because you only know what you're going through, maybe your friends if they're opening up to you, but there are so many people around you that are going through a lot and things that you'll never go through and that you'll never be able to understand. So I feel like I've learned so much about, how what people go through and what they're still managed to be able to achieve. It's been really, really inspiring. And it's also been really great being able to share the tools that I've learned with my peers. And so like that works for them and they come back and be like, that actually helped me a lot and I'm feeling a lot better now. And it's like music to my ears. It helps. It's great. So I'd say that it can be hard sometimes because it's, it can be really, intense and you just want to be able to say the right thing and do the right thing. But like, it has been it's been very inspiring. And I just think it's important because in reality, it really, really does save lives.
This is Chair Rupert. What is the best piece of advice you've given out as a PAL or as a friend?
I think my go-to is a lot of times when people are struggling with anxiety, I talk about, I feel like I obsess over breathing techniques because whether you believe in it or you don't, it truly does just trick your brain and trick your body into, relaxing yourself, particularly box breathing. It's when you breathe in for 5 seconds, hold for 5, let go for 5, hold for 5, literally in a box, and then you can kind of trace that almost on your skin also to calm yourself down. And it just slows down your breathing, slows down your heart rate, and is able to naturally calm you down. And it's very, very helpful, and that's helped a lot of people I've talked to as well. Anything else? Well, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate letting me go on for a while. So thank you guys.
Yeah, this is Supervisor Anderson. Thanks, Commissioner Viehmeister, for that presentation. I think it is a really good subject and topic to talk about. And I think the more that we talk about it, the less stigmatized it gets, which is good for everybody in society, frankly. So thank you very much for presenting to us today. I'll turn it back over to Chair Rupert.
All right, we have a speaker slip on our last agenda item, I believe. So I believe you're allowed to speak for 3 minutes.
Kelly McCormick.
Hi, Kelly McCormick. Mace, thank you. That was a great presentation. It was really good. And I echo the sentiment about box breathing. That is so wonderful. And I do hope to, destigmatize any feelings that people have about, anxiety. And I've had my own mental health journeys, and anxiety was a big thing for me, not public speaking, but it was in other areas of my life. And, it took work and talking to people and learning techniques. Meditation is a big part of my life. And so all those are great techniques. And I hope nobody feels like their mental health problems are a reason to feel less than, or that it's always going to be that way. So that aside, also I would like to put in a little plug about substance use, because some people do use that as a way to cope. And since that's kind of my job, I'll talk about that for a second. It can feel better in the moment because you're maybe numbing out, but it's not a long-term solution, and a lot of times, you build up a tolerance to whatever that substance is, whether it's alcohol or marijuana or nicotine, and then you just need more to feel baseline normal, and then, even more to feel some effect. And it just becomes a vicious cycle, and it can also negatively impact anxiety and depression, and even not in everyone, but in some people, it can trigger psychosis. And if you have a history of or a genetic predisposition to schizophrenia, it can also trigger that. And so there's a lot of reasons to avoid substances. And it's kind of like a toothache. If you take a Tylenol, it just masks the pain for a short period of time, but then the pain comes back and just keeps getting worse until you go to the dentist. And so, when you're having pain, it's really important to reach out and get help. So thank you for letting me add to that. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that advice and those words. We will be moving on to agenda item 11. Do we have any future agenda items added on by commissioner members? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 12, which is commissioner reports. So currently at San Diego Academy, some events that are going on is we have our Cultural Heritage and Pride Festival next week on Friday, which is the way to end our Spirit Week, which is coming up. We also started Senior Out, so good luck to seniors at San Diego Academy and wear your floaties. And we also have prom coming up, and that's currently getting planned in ASB.
This is Vice Chair Gonzalez. Just other updates from SDA. The winter sports just finished and spring sports have started. We also have another surf contest this Sunday. I believe we are against Carlsbad, so we're hoping that goes well.
Some cool things specifically for me are we have nationals coming up for speech and debate, which is pretty cool. And then our track season just started, like Vice Chair Gonzalez said. We had our first meet last week.
Yep. This is Commissioner Columbaloo. Joy pretty much covered most of it, but athletic-wise, our boys' soccer team is going to state, so that's pretty cool. So, yeah.
Commissioner Leszczynski, at PRS, we are about to have our Battle of the Bands and our field day, so yeah.
Commissioner Sue, I don't have anything to report.
Commissioner Viemeister at SDA. We just yesterday, we had an eating, disordered eating information lunch seminar put on by our counselors and our PALS program as well. That was very successful.
All right, thank you, commissioners. This is Chair Rupert, and I'd like to adjourn this meeting at on March 1st at 5:11 p.m.